EIPIP Meeting 111. This is issue number 365. We could not keep the formal meeting on November 20th, so the meeting number seems to be the exact same one, but we have updated the agenda and we have a lot more to discuss today. This is going to be the last meeting of the year, so I hope that we would be covering most of it, and we enter new year with some new good news and some new information for community who are trying to follow what's happening in Ethereum, EIPs and governance especially. On agenda, we have some edits to final proposals for review by editors. Generally speaking, we do not encourage edits to final proposals, so we try to bring it to editor's attention if this can be merged or not. Then we have received an update to EIP 1. We have a few other topics talking about revisiting types and other discussions that has been collected from different meetings, all core dev meetings. We'll take a look at the call for inputs. Those were open for quite some time, and this time we have some significant news to be shared with the community, other discussion and updates from the past meetings, and we'll also take a look at the EIPS Insight. So starting from the first item on the agenda, that is edits to final proposal, we have a bunch of open PR. I wonder if we want to go ahead with one by one, or does someone want to maybe take a look at it and let us know. So the first one here is PR 8987 in EIP GitHub repository.
That looks like it's fixing a typo. I'm okay with merging that one.
Just one thing that, yeah, if this is okay, just one thing that has been brought to our attention recently, that people are trying to add a typo in order to farm some airdrops. Those are generally eligible for making pushes to these kind of repositories, especially Ethereum repositories. So a recommendation that was shared was if we can maybe create issues instead of making small typo as a PR, just in order to make sure that that individual is not trying to farm. I have one of those listed here in today's discussion that I see as an example, but yeah, I'm totally fine with whatever editors decide to go with this. I just wanted to share this piece of information.
My opinion on airdrops is that we should just ignore them. We're not giving them out. So if they're actually fixing a typo, then it's good to merge as far as I'm concerned.
Is it the first time I see Sam? I can recognize your voice, but I don't think I've met you before. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't camera much, but I got a new camera, so I have to use it.
Yeah, good to see you. This is Victor, if you haven't seen me before.
All right, anyone has any objection in closing or merging this PR 8987? Maybe we can go through it and we can highlight if someone has a strong objection on merging or if people are generally okay, but we can keep it for another 24 hours and if anyone has an objection, they can add it. And after that, maybe Sam, you can merge them. The next one here is 9059. This is for EIP 1234 and there is another one 9146. So yeah, both of them are trying to do the same. Fixing of the link, yeah.
So I think the correct fix for 1234 is like putting in the commit hash, like we recommend people do for other repositories. So I'll take care of doing that.
Perfect. The next one that we have.
Okay.
Cool. The next one that we have here is number 9140. And this seems like a bunch of corrections to many different files. And the interesting part of this is most of these files are stagnant. And as we have discussed in the past, that we would not want to encourage any typo PR for stagnant proposals. I have added a comment over there, except for one proposal that is 1, 2, 3, 4. But to me personally, it definitely seems like a farming effect that someone is trying to fix all the stagnant files that nobody is looking at. Curious what editors think about merging this one.
Well, I'm not entirely sure about the hyphenation changes, but like object to an object is a valid change. So I'll probably just go through and accept the ones that are obviously incorrect. And yeah.
It may be valid, Sam, but all of these proposals are stagnant.
I'd still rather they be grammatically correct and stagnant, but yeah.
Yeah, no, earlier, I think in one of the earlier meetings, we mentioned that we should not be encouraging PRs for stagnant because that will like unstagnant the proposal, saying that, okay, fine, there is some movement in this one, given.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. All right, the next one here is broken link for EIP 908 and the number is 9147. I think here it is an effort to fix one of the documents shared by Vitalik, which has now moved to a different website. Seems like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I'll have to think about this one. I'm also okay just leaving it broken or maybe copying the file into our repository if we're allowed to do that. I'll take a look.
That sounds perfect. Thank you. Moving on to the next section, we have one proposal, which is an update to EIP1. I believe it is by Sam Wilson himself. He's working on fixing some of the changes suggested by Manu. Sam, if you would like to maybe provide some context to other editors, because any changes to EIP1 needs approval of more than one editor.
Yeah, so this is mostly like typographical and clarity fixes that one of the potential new editors suggested. There's also a PR on top of this one that I need to go through and review. So don't look at it yet. Look at it tomorrow. And yeah.
Thank you. So the next one we have are actually a couple of proposals. So I have seen these proposals in the informational category, informational type, and I wasn't sure that it belongs there. I have shared the link in the chat. They both seems to be performing one action except in one of the proposal, it is suggesting about the process, and another one about the parameters. We are joined by the author of both the proposals, and he being a new author is still wondering like what is the right thing to do here. Should it be informational, should it be meta, core, or what does people think here?
So I just took a quick read through 7783. So it's currently informational. So does this need to be the same for all clients for consensus to work, or is this just like a per validator strategy that they can choose?
So let's say something. Okay. So I don't know. So the reason why it's informational is because I just kind of got told to make it informational by someone. I don't remember who that was, but Initially it was core, and the reason why it is informational, I believe the rationale is that it's basically just an information. It's just kind of a strategy to accomplish something that doesn't affect the core of the protocol, and it's and since it's just basically akin to some kind of documentation, if anything, then it can be implemented or not implemented, but it's kind of just some kind of recommended strategy, just a recommended strategy. And I feel like, and somebody told me that this is more relevant if it is put in informational. Now, whether it actually is or not, I don't know. I just did what I was told, and they all got merged, so I thought no problem until today when I got a text that apparently it's a problem. Yeah, that's it.
I would never call it being in the wrong category a problem. It's just a bit of pedantic nonsense. But so this is like how a validator would choose the gas limit for a block. Is that correct?
It's kind of yes, it's a validator chooses, but not at not actually the protocol level, but at the client level, right? At the UX level.
Okay.
If it makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of fits into the minor node strategy subcategory of core, so you could put it there. I don't know, what do the rest of the editors think about this?
I am good with the current category, or we can put it in meta. But
one other piece of information that I would want to share here is like why it caught my attention was something mentioned in security consideration. Normally speaking, when we are looking into an informational type of proposals, we don't have anything for security consideration. And moreover, when we are trying to look into this proposal, my first question that came to my mind was like, when and how would you decide that this proposal will move into the final status? And I believe the idea is to get it with clients at some point of time. So it may be meta if this is something which is not going to obviously affect the core protocol, but is definitely something that is being implemented at all client. Maybe sync, maybe async, doesn't matter. But if it has to be implemented, then it should not be a part of informational EIP is what I'm thinking.
So the thing is that right now, I think this discussion is kind of a bit early because it's likely going to be brought up in the future after Pectra, I feel like. At least I see at least I know that there are some other teams other than Aragon that will probably bring it up after Pectra. And so I really don't know to answer this question right now. So, yeah, I don't know how to answer this question. Maybe I feel like if some clients go with it, some others might choose not to. But honestly, now I don't really know what is how this the approach will be, because it's not the time to do it. The time just didn't come yet, so I don't know.
why can't this be in standard track?
What?
Yeah, my question to other editors, why can't this be standard track? Yeah.
I feel like it should be standard track. When it was initially proposed, it was proposed as core, but I noticed that it changed to informational, and that's why I brought it here. I understand this proposal is currently in the draft status. And one other thing that I wanted to bring here is like, there are two proposals, and it seems like there could be just one, because one is the process and other is parameter. We really do not need to have two different proposals for that, but it's fine to have it two different proposals, except if author can get some guideline on like, if most of the editors feel that it is a good category for core, we can perhaps keep it there, whether or not included in Pectra. That's not important. That is a discussion to be done at all core dev meeting. That's not part of this meeting. We here just want to decide the category for this proposal. Looking at the chat, it seems like 3 of the editors think that core seems to be okay. Anyone objects to move this into core category?
Yes, I would definitely put these together into one EIP, and core seems like it makes sense.
Very well. So Julio, if you would like to maybe make a new PR, as before this call, we were also discussing that this could be in one of the proposals. So if you would want to merge them as one, we can have them, and we can have that as a core proposal. And it is not necessary. Yeah, it's not necessary to be discussed on all core dev just yet because it is not ready for Petra. It can be brought back in future for discussion.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for joining and helping us sort this out. Anyone has any final comment on this one before we move on to the next one? I see a comment from Bumble Fudge here. I don't object, but I'm wondering if informational was a way of avoiding being marked as a stagnant in case it didn't become topical or get incorporated into an accept or reject timeline by ACD for a year. No, I think here the confusion was the author wasn't very sure. He started the proposal as core, but someone suggested to move it to informational, and thus it landed up in informational.
Okay, sorry. Let's move on.
So the next one here is upgrade meta. I know this has been discussed on this call maybe multiple times. A few years ago, we didn't have any meta for upgrade. But before that, we did have. Now we have upgrade meta back in process. I was just going through, the basic definition of how we are defining our meta proposals. So I feel like whatever we are documenting in upgrade meta is just a piece of information that we are sharing with the community that these list of EIPs went into a particular upgrade. And that suits more like an informational piece to be shared with the community instead of, something that needs to be added as meta. So I was wondering, I know for a few years, we didn't have upgrade meta. We discarded that. We went to have it saved as a .md file on execution specs, but it worked till we had 2 different specs and different processes. And now that we are having a combined upgrade both on consensus and execution layers, it makes sense to have these documented at one place. I'm just wondering about the category, about the type of this type of EIP where we are listing all these proposals for a network upgrade. Wondering what people think about the upgrade EIP as meta. Just to add one more piece here, why I brought this here, because I feel like meta EIPs are more of process, like we are defining process that goes around Ethereum. It may not be the specs, those are directly implemented on the Ethereum code base, but we are just telling about the process. But to me, this particular section, it seems like more information that we are sharing to the community. So yeah, but yes, please.
Yeah, so I think the idea behind it being meta is that it is an EIP that describes other EIPs. So it's like just because it's a grouping of EIPs, it's a meta EIP, but it's not a process recommendation. So yeah, I guess the only thing in EIP 1 that kind of tips the scales in terms of meta is that unlike informational EIPs, they're more than recommendations, and users are typically not free to ignore them. So that kind of a comment kind of makes it sound like they should be meta, because you can't participate in Ethereum without following the EIP. But I'm also okay making them informational. I'm also okay making them core, because yeah, they're kind of a description of things that happen to clients. So it also makes sense to put them in core.
One argument that I have in mind, I also followed the statement like that it's something that is typically not free to ignore, but that is a recommendation for implementers, right? And that is already being implemented in client. This is just a listing that we are trying to maintain. And it could be very similar to a proposal, something called as 7675, which I have also added in my later discussion, which is retroactively included EIPs. That also seems to me like more informational, because that is a list of proposals which are added to code base of Ethereum in different clients, not as a part of an upgrade, but later on. And yeah, so it seems more informational to me. However, there is another proposal which talks about the process of the proposal. And yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. Okay, I'll try to find out the number, but in between, if anyone has any other comments and thoughts, it seems like Gajendra is okay as info. It seems like Sam is also okay as info. Sam, all these core proposals are already listed. So they are already core, and having a list of it as a core, I'm not sure. Yes, Victor, please go ahead.
In terms of, I think the question I understand is between informational versus meta type, right? Of these for the upgrades.
Listing
if
of
that's
EIPs.
if that's the case, I would say one. I don't have strong preference one another. I think they both work, but one argument for meta is that the tradition. So traditionally it has been there, and it has been using meta, and then just to not confuse people and also follow the tradition, it could be meta as well.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned. Like it was traditionally being added as meta, but we dropped it for a few years. We decided to move on because obviously people felt that that is not the right way of documentation, and that may not be the right place for documentation of it. And we started adding it as a file. But it has been brought back again, that too very recently. I'm just wondering if this is the time to fix, if it was a mistake, and if people think that this is something that needs to be carried on this way. Perhaps we can update the statement at EIP1 to maybe give room to this kind of EIPs added as meta. Yes. Yeah. That's perfectly all right, Sam. Yeah. Either way, we can go about it. Like we can have it as informational because it seems more fit over there. But if we want to make it meta, maybe we want to update the EIP. And the other EIP that I was trying to mention, which I feel like is a good fit for meta, is network upgrade inclusion stages. Here it is talking about the process. It is EIP number 7723. Here it is talking about process, like how network upgrade should be done and like how EIPs can be proposed and things like that. This is something that needs to be changing. Maybe it can be kept as a living proposal as well. But personally speaking, I feel like all these upgrades information that we are listing should be a part of informational. I don't know, should we open a call for input for this?
I agree. I would answer yes to Sam's question in the chat. All of these, I agree with Pooja. They all seem informational, and I like the definition of meta as referring to the EIPIP issues. Whether or not a call for consensus on GitHub would be nice, just in case one of us is missing something, or I don't know, to remind us to read through one by one to make sure they're all informational, but I don't know.
All right. Yeah, I think that's a good way forward. We don't need to decide everything on the first call itself. It was just a point of discussion that I wanted to bring it to editor's attention, and maybe we can have a call for input for this one and try to collect what other people and community thinks about it. Definitely call for input is more collecting about editor's point of view, but we will also get some feedback from community. If needed, we can also share it with all codef to collect what they think about it. With that, we can perhaps move on to the next one. I'm so sorry. Today we have a lot of discussion topic. So the next one here is adding non-core EIP to upgrade meta or upgrade EIP. I'm not calling it meta for now because that's under a discussion, under question. So historically, when we are listing any upgrade EIP, we list all the core EIPs. Those are being selected or had been selected for a particular upgrade. We do not include any EIP in that list if that was not part of that upgrade. For example, the networking EIP historically has never been part of any meta EIP. So this is the question that I want to check with editors. What do we feel about listing networking or any other EIP as an upgrade list or upgrade EIP? Because generally when we talk about core EIPs, we say that the core EIPs are the EIPs which are selected for an upgrade. And that's kind of like defined line differentiating core between any other standard track proposals that we have on it. Basically, this is a comment that is coming from the all core dev meeting. I believe there is a proposal which is waiting to be added. And I just wanted to bring it to editors' attention so they can decide if this is fine. This would be accepted when that is added as a PR.
Sorry, I think I missed the initial question for this one.
So the question here is, historically, we are adding all core EIPs as a part of upgrade EIP. Do we want to start including networking and any other?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Whatever goes into the fork can go in the meta EIP. It doesn't need to be core specific.
But that's the definition of core EIP. Only those EIPs goes into upgrade, not networking or anything else. Anything else can be asynchronously added. It doesn't need to be a part of an upgrade.
Oh, I see. So I guess, yeah, you can make a networking upgrade without having a hard fork. Yeah. So I don't know. If they're applied at the same time, then maybe it makes sense to add them, but otherwise, no, I guess not.
Okay. I don't know what other editors think about it.
Yeah, if basically it requires a hard fork kind of a coordination. So yeah, it makes sense to have them. So basically we need to decide on per EIP basis whether they belong to the network upgrade or not.
For those require hard fork to coordinate, should they be included in the core EIP, or they can stay in network? It feels like it's fine either way, but either we have to update our definition of core EIP, or we have to kind of rule them out in the inclusion EIP.
So I think the core EIPs are the one that changes the consensus rules. So that way, in my understanding, it's very different. Yeah. So
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Maybe we might want to add it to EIP1 at some point of time, but it makes sense that if a networking EIP that may require hard fork kind of coordination, and without that proposal, uh, uh, like this hard fork is not possible kind of thing, then it may be listed as listed in the upgrade EIP. We can perhaps add this information. I think I picked it up from Fellowship of Ethereum Magician. I can go back and update it over there. Any final comment on this one?
yeah, I mean, EIP is like peer DAS or maybe full DAS. I don't know how would you classify them because they are a lot of networking, and then I'm not sure how they change the consensus because they do change how, for example, fork choice updates work and all that. So they would affect consensus as well. So we do have some kind of a gray area over here. So
I think you'd probably split them in two. So you'd have the networking part, and then you'd have the core part, and the core part would depend on the networking part, I guess.
Yeah, I think PeerDAS is one of those proposals which are being considered here because this is the first time we are having this proposal, which is actively, tested, and it is as parallel as any other DevNet testing that is going on. So, yeah, if editors are fine with that, we can perhaps start sharing this piece of information, because historically we had been just sharing that only core EIPs are considered for this upgrade EIPs list, and that goes into network upgrade. However, even if networking EIPs are not making consensus changes, they are sometimes considered critical for inclusion at the same time. So they are being listed as a part of upgrade, not meta, upgrade EIP. We'll figure out what it will be. The next one here is a list of two proposals. One is 7675, retroactively included EIPs. I had two questions which I left as a comment in the Fellowship of Ethereum Magician. I don't feel like the title is appropriate because this contains a list of core EIPs which were asynchronously added. It didn't mean that it was retroactively added. Retroactive in general gives me an impression of something that was done in the past, and it could not have been done at the time. But this list may contain some of the EIPs which were done just before the upgrade and sometimes just after the upgrade. It has nothing to do with that upgrade. It's just that it was not required to be implemented synchronously, and clients were free to make it async upgrades for these particular proposal. So I had two comments here. Number one, maybe we can change the name of this particular proposal to reflect the category clearly. We can maybe call it as like atypical integration of EIP, or maybe irregular adoption of these proposals in client code base. And the other one, it seems to be informational more than meta EIP to me, because this is not a process. Again, this is a piece of information. This is a list of EIPs which were added out of the general order of going into hard fork.
So if these are the EIPs that I'm thinking of, they all apply from Genesis, so they would be retroactive. But I get your point about not necessarily all of them always applying from Genesis, so that makes sense. Maybe out of band EIP would be a better description for them. But yeah, I also really don't like this EIP because it's never going to go to final.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, that's
so
why I
I'm-
was wondering if we can keep it as informational. We can perhaps make it living, and this can continue building as a list of proposals which are not added via an upgrade.
one of the rules we have in EIP, what is it, 5069, the like handbook, is that we don't maintain lists. So I'm probably just going to open a call for input to withdraw this.
Okay, that has a very strong argument over there. All right, we
Wait,
can
who's we in that sentence though? Like,
edit this.
is Tim and or the EIP, the client coordination process, offering to maintain the list?
We don't allow lists in the EIP process. The whole, like, we don't,
Okay.
like, our process isn't designed around handling things that gets updated constantly, right? Like, we're designed about getting a document and getting it to like an immutable state, and we're really bad at handling things that need to be updated. So I don't want us to be like, unless we define a new process for handling these kind of EIPs, I'd rather just not touch them.
Okay. Yeah, I just looked up 5069 and I saw the section. I mean, I can see how it feels like a non-exhaustive or non-static list or borders on registry, but it also feels like maybe should it just be like, should they do a new informational list every after, like each time they do one or something? Is it about discovery? Is it because they search the list of metas to get a timeline of when each client change went in or something? Like, I think I'm not understanding the point of this this thing that wants to be a registry.
I think you'd have to ask Tim. I'm not sure.
Okay, fair.
Very well. The next proposal here is a 7723, and that is also kind of talking about some kind of it's a process, I guess. 7723. It's talking about adding an additional stage, which is called declined for inclusion. And that's a process, yeah. So, I mean, particularly, I don't feel the importance of this proposal. If something is not accepted, it can be brought back. We really do not need to provide it a status, but I'm fine with it. Yeah. What do people think that we should have this additional status called DFI added as a process for network upgrade inclusion stages?
I think it's reasonable. This is per fork, so if they decline to include it per fork, that makes sense.
But
Does
where would it
does
This
it
would-
mean that anyone who get declined or any EIP get declined for inclusion will maintain that status? Like, when can they come back to review, draft,
the
and
next
and pursue it?
This is a separate process. So this document that Tim's written up here is like a meta EIP that defines the hard fork informational EIPs, and then each EIP in that informational one has a separate status that isn't related to the document status.
I'm a little bit unclear about like documentation of these stages, like where would people go and find it? So for example, 7723 just suggests that these would be the upgrade inclusion stages. And let's consider Petra. So if we are looking into EIP 7600, then we will be having all these proposals with these specific statuses. And if so, then the declined for inclusion will be added there, like this was proposed but was not included. I feel like it is too much of a list.
So yeah, so this EIP doesn't introduce a new header into the preamble. This EI, like 7723, is just saying, like, when you're creating the Pectra, like the EIP for Pectra itself, what headings are in that EIP. So here, let me pull this up. You said Pectra is 7600?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so how do I share my screen with this thing? Share screen. I need my this. All right. So you see here, like there's this EIP schedule for inclusion, EIP is considered for inclusion in EIP 7600. Those are the headings that are defined here in this EIP. So this meta EIP is just describing how these hard fork EIPs should look. Like EIP 2537 isn't modified to say it's scheduled for inclusion. It's just the meta document that's modified. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I get it. And it will change when we move on to different. I feel like it is very close to the different stages that were defined in a cat herder's blog post. So when we move into maybe public testnet, we would be included for scheduled for inclusion, and when we'll be moving into final, then it will be added as included here.
So these statuses are completely separate from final, draft, and review and all that stuff. So like a document could be draft, but still scheduled for inclusion.
That's all right, yeah. But when we will move into scheduled for inclusion means here that are being on testnet or devnet, right? Is that a correct understanding?
Let's see. So scheduled says that implementation is underway, but it doesn't say anything about whether it's on a testnet or a devnet or anything.
Yeah, but I think that is okay. We are moving from proposed to considered. I understand proposed can be a list, considered can be a subset of that which a client devs agreed to work on, and they go back and start implementing those things. Then we move it for devnet for testing purposes. I feel like schedule for inclusion is the best place for that when we move it to devnet, and keep it there till we are on the public testnet. When it is moved, like when it is deployed on the mainnet, then it becomes history, and then we can make it as included. I'm not sure if this is mentioned, but I think this is a good flow.
That's exactly how it works.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and these stages could be found in the upgrade EIPs that we are going to follow. And I feel like I noticed a comment from Gajendra. It seems like he thinks that this particular proposal is also kind of informational proposal. So I don't know if we would want to maybe open call for inputs for proposals which were discussed today, and just to make sure that they are into the right types and categories.
Yeah, so EIP 7723, the one that Tim's written up here, hasn't been like formally considered yet. I'll ask Tim if it's ready.
It's in review status, Sam.
Yeah, it's in review, but it hasn't been like CFI'd. We haven't made it like an official meta EIP that we're going to enforce.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So those were mostly proposals which we brought up for discussion here. And we have only 3 call for inputs. Sam, if you would like to quickly go over all of them, I believe 2 of them are already closed.
Sure. So Greg and Axic have been removed as editors. If they want to come back, they're welcome to. But for now, all of their permissions have been removed. And then we have ISO 4217, which is somebody's asking for a specific exception for this one document, and a little bit of backstory. So ISO 4217 is the like standard that defines country codes. So like CA, US, UK, all of those like 2-letter codes are defined in this standard. The standard is not free, so we can't allow links to it, but they do publish just a list of country codes without any associated documentation for free, and somebody wants to link to that list. So my opinion on this is that we shouldn't allow links to the list because, I mean, what good is a list if you don't have the standard that it goes with? But yeah, if other people want to comment on this, please do. I'll close it later today.
Thank you, Sam. Move on to the next item on the agenda, which is, okay, thank you, Gajendra. Yeah, every editors, please take a look at the open call for inputs and feel free to add your comments. What do you think about the proposal? The next item here is other discussion and updates from the past meetings. So we have recently received some interest from client developers interested in being editors, reviewers, and helping out with the EIP editing process. For them, we have created this short onboarding checklist, and Sam has a list of rules that he generally prefers as an editor while reviewing the proposal. We want to discuss here if these things could be formalized. We should be adding these things for new editors, reviewers, and authors. Yeah, what do people think about it?
Yeah, so feel free to leave comments on the document. And I guess I'll open a call for input, adding it to EIPIP1 at some point, and we can approve or deny it there.
Yeah, I mean, I have a few thoughts on this, and I wanted to share it with the group to maybe collect some more feedback on this one. There are two or three documents under discussion. I feel when I had a look at Sam's document, I felt like that is a very good resource for someone who is documenting the proposal. And EIP1 talks about like the process and guideline that helps a new author to maybe document the process, or someone new to the community to learn about it. So if we can perhaps add it to what belong in a successful EIP section of EIP1, that would be good for authors as well as editors, and these can be looked into before someone goes ahead and try to document the proposal. So this can be added as do's and don'ts, is what I think about this one. For Sam's HackMD file that is there, that's very good list of like what authors should keep in mind while they are sending a proposal for review. And similarly, I feel like EIP 5069 is more for guidelines for editors. So perhaps we can include some of the information that we are sharing with the onboarding document, add it over there as when we are talking about do's and don'ts, we can add more to it, and we can remove some part of EIP1 where it is like EIP guideline. We can have a small section there, and we can have a bigger section on EIP 5069. Yeah, I don't know what people think. This was my general thought process about these two documents that we can perhaps put in a place where a community can have access to it. Yeah, that's the point. Like I want EIP1 to be concise, and that's why I want EIP1 just to refer to 5069 for all the roles and responsibilities of editors, and not list everything right over there in EIP1. However, Sam's rule seems more good fit for EIP1 because we do not have any author guideline separately. EIP1 is supposed to be the one. Yeah, people, please feel free to add it on the doc. Yeah, sure. And then in that case, maybe by the next meeting, we will try to bring it up as PRs, and then we can perhaps further discuss on it. And we will try to share that PR in the Discord channel before we bring it to the meeting. So whatever feedback is there, we can incorporate it and bring it to editors for making a decision if possible. Yeah, it seems like people are generally okay to have these things documented somewhere as a part of EIP, not as a part of floating HackMD file going on here and there. So that's good. The next section that we have is EIP numbering by EIP editors. There is this small thread that's going on Cather's EIP editors Discord channel. People may take a look. In general, there is some recommendation for how EIP numbering should be done. Maybe one of the associates have not been following it properly, but it's a good practice. We can perhaps do that. Moving on quickly to EIPS Insight, I see Vivian has joined. We may not have a lot of time to discuss everything, but yeah, over to you, Vivian. I see you have added a comment that you would like to demo some of the tools. So maybe if you can quickly take a couple of minutes on each of the tools and try to finish it up in next 5 to 6 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Pooja. I'm sharing my screen. So we have added a couple of tools that would be helpful for all the editors over here. And the first tool that we have added is the individual charts for every editor so far. And you can compare the performance individually for them and also download the reviews that they have made. It would be better for comparison like this. And this is the activators timeline scatter plot, and this is mainly based on the times that they are submitting their reviews. So you can also select the filters and choose the timeline that you want to find out the activity of the editors, and using this you can find out what is the best time to either expect a review from the editor. And so, and regarding the update in the EIP board, we have updated it such that, so previously we were giving all the PRs that were pending for the that are pending for the review from the editor, but it was also including the PRs that are waiting for the author's attention and not the editor's attention. So we have modified it such that it will be only containing the list that requires the editor's attention and not the author's attention. With the help of Sam, we were able to complete this. And this is the new chart that we have added, and this contains the total number of PRs and issues that are currently open in EIPS, ERCS, or RIPS. For example, in EIPS, it is currently showing 86, which is the sum of 80 plus 6 in the EIPS repository. It can be quite helpful for comparison, for evaluating the performance of how we are doing and everything. And this is another new tool that we have added. This can be used for getting all the EIPs that were authored by a particular person, and this can be quite helpful to keep track. Let's say like client, you can get all the EIPs that were authored by this author. So this can be quite helpful for keeping track for editors, or as well as for the authors who are maintaining them. And we are also providing the RIP data. We have noticed that RIP data is currently not available elsewhere. So our website can be quite useful for viewing the RIP data. You can see all the data over here, and also we have a dedicated page for that. And we'll be adding more information for other enthusiasts. If anyone wants to visit that, this will be quite helpful for that. Yeah, that's it from my side.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for all your work.
And thank you, Sam Wilson. You're raising the issues, and that is quite helpful for us as well. I would recommend other editors for doing the same as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Vivian. Yeah, I think one of the issues that you have solved of EIP board was highlighted to me by Gajendra Singh. So thanks, Gajendra Singh, for highlighting that as well. I would sincerely request all the editors to maybe take a look at the tools. Those are provided. I believe that that would be helpful, not only in just like understanding and keeping track of how we are performing, as well as when you are opening the list to maybe review the proposals, going through the emails or the GitHub notification, you can just simply download the CSV file from here and try to take a look at all the open proposals. And yeah, that's quite helpful. Thank you, team. One thing that I think I have added as an issue yesterday, I would love to see more information about RIPs. As you mentioned that RIPs information are not available elsewhere. I was trying to learn more about their meta EIP and the process, like how someone can add a proposal to RIP. There is a small community right now. They frequently meet at the roll-up calls, but those calls are not governance-related calls. So it would be nice to add some information about how their governance is being maintained and how people can learn more about layer 2 proposals. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll work on that. I see the issue that you have raised on our GitHub, and I'll work on that. Thank you. And also, if there are any particular tools that anyone among the editors or onboarding editors needed, please let us know or raise an issue in the GitHub so that we can work on that and provide it to you. Thank you.
I can think of one tool, as I was talking to Julia this morning, we had some conversation around that he didn't know how to proceed and how to document everything. There can be many more authors who may have such kind of problem. It would be interesting to see if the team can maybe create a UI for EIP template, like people can just input the question, answer to the questions, and it can generate a .md file and that can be submitted. But while we are doing it, maybe with help of AI, it can also assist them to figure out what is the best suited category types and category for that proposal. If we can have a UI for that, that would be awesome. I'm just a
Yeah, we'll work on that. Yeah, thank you.
Cool. One last announcement for today, that is the EIP Editors Workshop. As I mentioned earlier, that we have received a few interest from developers to help us with the EIP process. We are hoping to have an editors workshop in January. I have created an agenda. The meeting is planned for January 17 at 1600 UTC. I'm hoping to maybe keep it simple, keep it introductory for new people or interested parties. And one of the main goals of these meetings, this particular meeting, is to onboard more reviewers than editors, because I feel like we do have editors who are already engaged in the editorial job, helping out with that. But if we can get technical review, that would be nice to have. So more reviewers onboarding is my goal there, but I would love to see anyone on the call who may be interested in helping out with EIP, ERC, or RIP reviewing as well as editing. So please note down the date, and if you have questions, you can also list it for editors right there in advance, so editors may be able to help with that. So that's all on that. As we know that we are having this call once every month, so we are going to have this call next time on the 3rd Wednesday of the January, which is going to be, oh, for some reason my calendar froze. Okay, which is going to be on 15th of January. So thank you everyone for joining here. See you all on 15th January at 1500 UTC. Happy holidays, everyone.